Welcome everybody to this lesson, CSS Tooltips. If this is your first time, kindly support the channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing this video. Uh, and we are just gonna delve right into what a tooltip is, right? So, what is a tooltip? A tooltip generally is extra information that you add to something. Usually, when you hover over an element, it gives you extra information about the element that you have hovered over. So we're just gonna go straight to the code section. I'm gonna try to keep this lesson pretty under 10 minutes. I hope we can do it and see what we can code up. Okay, so let's go to our code. So guys, this is what we have. When I refresh this, we only have an HTML that just gives us, let me just give some space right here. Right. So we only have this HTML here, which doesn't have much in there. We have the style section. We have our header that says Advanced CSS ToolTip, and we have a mouse over the text below to see a tooltip. So let us create the text right here. I'm going to create a div, a container, right, to have our div. So I'm going to have a class so that we can style this. And this class is going to be called tooltip, right? So I'm going to call this class tooltip. Let me just do tooltip. Okay. And then, sorry about that, tooltip, right? And what else do I need? I need to have, what do I want to do? Uh, Mouse over to see tooltip. Okay, tooltip, right? Good. And then, so this is, if I just refresh this alone, I just gonna have this. And there's one more thing I want to do. I want to kind of like center this whole body, HTML body, in like a centered position. So I'm gonna have to style my body, right? So I can just do body, add a style to it. Oh man, today has been the worst. Okay, add a style to it, and then I want to do text align, and I want to center this, right? Center. Okay. And you can already see what I've been talking about. I'm going to cut this, and I'm just going to paste it right here. Okay. So I have my body style, and what is this? Okay. So now, if I just refresh this, I have this centered. Good. So now, let us just go and have our div. So we have our div, which is saying mouse over this to see a tooltip. So let's create a span in here, which is going to be our actual tooltip. And we have already had separate classes that speaks that we talked about all of these elements. So if this is your first time seeing this, you can go back and revise. Okay, so I'm gonna call this tooltip text, and what this is a tooltip. Okay, maybe like this, right? So when I just refresh it, it's gonna be mouse over to see tooltip, and this is a tooltip, right? Good. So we have this, but we want the tooltip to only be available when we hover over this. So that is what we are gonna do. So we have to style all these classes so that it works as we desire. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna style the tooltip class, this div, this top level div right here. So I go to my style section, and let's style this tooltip. So I have my tooltip here, and I'm gonna say position. I just want it to be what position? Okay, let's use relative. Okay, and then display inline block, and then let's say border, bottom border. I'm gonna say maybe 1 pixel, solid, and I'm gonna say black, right? Okay. Okay, so we got this styled a little bit. If I refresh it, this is what you should be seeing, right? So the next thing we want to style is our tooltip text, right? So how do we get there? Tooltip, I like to, and then from tooltip we have our tooltip text, tooltip text, okay. And then now we can style it. So initially, this should be hidden, right? So I'm just gonna set my visibility. I'm gonna set it to hidden. Okay. And then the next thing I'm gonna do is to just give it a width of say 120 pixels. And I'm gonna give it a color, background color. I like to use gray, so I'm just gonna say gray right here. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give it a font color also. And this time the font color should be, let's say brown. Okay. I'm so bad with picking colors, but and I'm gonna align the text and center this, right? And then border radius, border radius. I'm gonna set this to 5 pixels, and then I'm gonna pad this up, say 5 pixels. Pixels. Okay, good. So now I have to set the position of it, but we can always do that later. So if I refresh this now, you can see that it's hidden. So what can I do here? Let's set the on hover, right? So I'm going to create another class for the hover. So I'm going to say tooltip. Now, when I hover it, so you have a lot of methods here. So if I hover it, I want to target this class tooltip text, and I want to style this, right? So now I can just set the visibility to what? Visible, because now I want to see it. So now if I just refresh this and I hover it, you see it right there, right? You can see that it's on the right side of this. So what I can do here is I can just set my position of this, not inherit. I'm going to set it to absolute, right? MIZ index to this, so to 1. Okay, good. So when I just refresh this again, right? You can see that it's a little down. It's not really aligned. We're gonna fix this. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna see how to place the tooltip on the right, on the left, up or down. Okay. Okay, so let's align this to the right properly. I'm gonna just say top. Just want to go up a little bit, so I'm gonna say top. I want it to be minus 5 pixels, and then my left should be 105%. So this should align it properly. If I refresh this and I hover it, you see it's aligned properly. So if I wanted it to go to the right, it's the same thing. Okay, if I wanted to go to the right, and let me just comment this out, I'll just say right and 105%. Okay, so if I refresh this, we should see the tooltip on, sorry, on the left, right? So now if we want to do the top, we should just, okay, let me comment this out. Yep. So what we can do is to set bottom to 100%. Okay. And then we're going to set our lefts to 50%. Okay. And then we're going to set our margin lefts, just so we have margin left, to have 120, right? We have 120 width, so maybe 60 minus 60, right? So, and we have talked about this in our previous lesson. So when I refresh this, it goes up, right? And so for the bottom, all we need to do is instead of button here, we're just gonna go top, right? So we're just gonna do top. And so when I refresh this, it now comes to the bottom, right? So this is the way we do it. If we wanted to give it a little bit of a transition, right? We can add some transition into this. So we can add a fade in. So the first thing I would do is to add a fade in, which is an opacity, which is more like your transparency, right? So I'm gonna set the transparency to 0, and then I'm gonna say transition, opacity at 1 second, right? And then when I come down to this one, I'm gonna say I want my opacity as 1. Good. So when I just refresh this and hover it, you see that there's a transition that goes on, right? And it's gonna be clearer if I set this to black, something, a color that is more dominant, right? Okay, so now when I refresh this, you can see how it transitions to the black, right? So thank you guys for watching this video. I tried to keep it under 10 minutes, went a little bit over it. But yes, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and like and share this video. Thank you guys, and see you in the next lesson. Thank you.